3 on the Oil Stream. What's going on, everybody? Oil Stream presented to you by Boston Pizza. We will be at Boston Pizza on Wednesday. You can join us. We'll be at the Kingsway Boston Pizza. Myself, Gazzola, and I think you too, Trev's going to come by for that show as well. So that's exciting. Join us on Wednesday for some Boston Pizza. Remember, they got the Kids Club cards right now, $5. And you get 5 Kids Club meals, and the $5 goes to charity. Also, October 27th and October 28th, back-to-back, Tommy Gazzola, Boston Pizza, pre- and post-game at the Westgate location, right by the mall there, right by Italian Center Shop.
Yeah.
Right there.
Right across the street.
They have a golf simulator in there now.
They do?
Yeah.
I know they renovated. Curtis was saying that they renovated. They've got 6 o'clock or lager there, too, by the way. Can, not tap.
Yeah.
I haven't been in there since they did the reno, but I didn't know they have a golf sim.
They have a golf sim.
Was that not that back room where you guys do the drafts, or is it in a different area?
That's a different location.
And we're seeing great rates on golf sims in some places, too.
Is that that's the thing now, eh?
Yeah.
All right. So, anyway, that'll be 27th, 28th, Sunday. Is it a Sunday, Monday?
Sunday, Monday, Detroit,
Join Tommy
Columbus.
Gazzola, Westgate, Boston Pizza for the Oil Stream pre- and post-game. All right, if you're watching over on YouTube today, hammer the thumbs up. Your questions on the Oilers, easy enough. Send those in on YouTube and sub to the channel if you haven't already. You can also hit us up at 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. The Edmonton Oilers 2-4 to start the season, 1-1 on the road trip. 4 possible points up for grabs. They managed to come home with 2 of them. What was the post-game like, Tommy? What was the reaction like?
Frustration, I would say, was a theme.
Probably fair.
It's like this Dallas Stars team, they improved to 5-1 after that win. Edmonton falls to 2-4, like you mentioned off the top. But like Edmonton played good for the majority of that game. And the Stars, and Joaquin and I were talking about it leading up to the Oil Stream, like the Stars were patient. They waited. Okay. They take their opportunities. They obviously take advantage of a really bad Oilers PK. And they get some big saves from Ottinger. But I think the Oilers, in a way, like their game last week overall in those games, like against Nashville and Dallas, and you're encouraged by the third period and the way they came back against Philadelphia. Like I thought last week was a decent week for the Oilers. I would have liked to have seen them get that win, make it 3 in a row. But it seems like some elements of their game 5-on-5 got cleaned up, especially the way they pushed Dallas in the first 2 periods. The special teams are an absolute tire fire.
They're atrocious.
They are. The numbers are just, they do reflect how bad the special teams are. When they're collectively, what are they, 61% when you combine the PK with the power play? Pathetic.
Yeah,
Not
you can't
apathetic,
have
but pathetic.
You can't have that.
No, that is so bad.
And it won't for that long. I mean,
I don't think so.
They'll get you would think they probably get that sorted out. But tell me a little bit more about the Dallas game, because I was doing the.
We're watching you doing the Lions game.
I was doing the Lions game,
Yes.
so
They had it on one of the TVs.
I wasn't as fully invested in the Oilers game as I usually would be. I went back and watched all the highlights. I went back and watched the goals, but this was a pretty good start in this hockey game for the Oilers.
I would say it was a good.
Was it their best start of the year?
You know what? They had a good game in
up,
Nashville.
Well, going up like 1-0, but
yeah, it was one of their more responsible. They were strong. Like they held. I think it took Dallas until midway through the second. Like they had 4 shots on net. Dallas did. Edmonton was creating a lot of momentum. They had a lot of offensive zone time. They were getting the better of the chances. The shot clock heavily favored the Oilers, and you're sitting there watching, going, "All right, they brought it tonight," and they were. It was just a matter of breaking through on Jake Ottinger, and they never did. Well, they did late in the game, but Ottinger was brilliant, and then it was Dallas. When Dallas got that goal late in the second period, I think it deflated the Oilers, and Brad Malone talked about it on the post-game show. It just seemed like, here we go again, and then the Stars got that second goal. And the second goal the Stars got where, they got their insurance, it came right after an Oilers opportunity, and then there's a calamity of errors, or we compounding mistakes, as Cass likes to say.
On the second goal?
On the second goal. Like, McDavid doesn't doesn't get it
Little
deep.
backhand drop.
The
picked
backhand, Bouchard falling down, recovering, and then Ekholm overcommitting to Bouchard's guy. A great pass by, I think it was Mason Marchment to Duchesne through the legs of Ekholm. And then, I don't know where Stu Skinner was on that one, but I think that deflated them, and it was a good third period for the Stars, and that's all they needed.
We will get to the lines from practice today. McDavid and Draisaitl split up, so we will discuss that as we work our way through the show. But we do have to have a special teams conversation. You mentioned it, Tommy. Power play 6.7%, penalty kill 55%. The only two teams, and I was looking last night online, the only two teams with the worst power play than the Oilers right now are the Sabres and Ducks, and neither of those teams have scored a power play goal this year. Like, they're both at 0% still. Then you get the Oilers at 6.7%. The Oilers penalty kill, far and away the least competent in the National Hockey League right now at just 55%.
Yeah.
The power play, are teams starting to figure it out a little bit? What are we thinking when it comes to the Oilers power play?
All right, I suggested this to Cass last week after the Nashville game, and I said, hey, I think it's a cat and mouse game, and I think, the other team's penalty kills when they watch the Oilers are winning. They've kind of caught up. They've picked up on tendencies and this and that. Cass disagreed, and he broke it down. He gave a good reasoning and rationale as to why he didn't think teams had figured the Oilers power play out. Power play 1, I should say. Although power play 2 has become a myth again. It's rarely out there. But I recommend, I made that same suggestion to Bugsy on the postgame show. And he goes, I think you might be onto something. And then he also pointed out, too, that the way that the Oilers' power play is being killed off is a bit different. Like the structure of the PK teams are utilizing against them, where the emphasis on taking away lanes, kind of giving you your letting you handle the puck, but taking away your lanes to make anything happen. And Bugsy pointed out an instance on the power play where McDavid, he had it. He had full control, and the Stars weren't really pressuring him. They're just kind of waiting for him, but they took away all of his options so well that McDavid just kind of he sat there and he's looking around going, what the hell's going on? And Bugsy said that they, in Bakersfield last year, saw that same type of penalty kill in Grand Rapids. The Griffins did it to the Condors, and it threw them for a loop and had them in fits until they started to move. And he said you get simple when you face that PK, pass, shoot kind of thing. And that's where Edmonton's power play, too, the few instances it's gotten out there, that's where they kind of have the emphasis. It's Matthias Ekholm and Darnell
just
on the
get
point.
it and put it towards
make
the
a
net.
couple and then create chaos. And he said that's where in Bakersfield they had more success when teams started to utilize that different PK system on them.
So do you think Knobloch, Gulletson, whoever, just goes to them and just say, hey, guys, here's what we're going to do. We're going to pass the puck a couple times and shoot it. Like, we're not just going to allow
I would think so.
Like, it makes sense to take away McDavid's options because he has the puck on his stick for not the entire power play, but a large portion of the power play compared to other players around the league, right?
It runs through him.
He's the point guard.
Right.
Like, he's the point guard of the offense on the power play. And if you take away his options, then, I mean, how come teams haven't caught on to this sooner, I guess, would be, if it's actually that's what's coming through. Mm-hmm. How come it's like,
now they do.
It's like standing next to Ovechkin on the power play in Washington for 15 years. You know, like people just didn't stop it.
I think there probably was a tendency to start to throw different wrinkles at the Oilers' power. Like it dropped. It was top 5. It finished 4th in the league last year, but I think it was 1-2 for a while, and then it ended up 4th. And I think teams started to figure them out a little bit. Obviously, the playoffs were a different beast, but we all know that there's going to be the slingshot, Bouchard to McDavid. He gets it in. They get zone entry, pass down low, try to find Leon on the one side. If that doesn't work, you go to Nugent Hopkins. He rarely shoots it. He usually passes it back to wherever McDavid is. Sometimes he passes it to Bouchard. Sometimes they release Hyman from the front of the net, and he goes to the side and tries to find somebody in the slot, like if Leon slides over or Nugent Hopkins slides over for that little bumper play. But it's even we know what they're trying to do. We do. I know we watch them every single game. The fans of the team know exactly. Like it needs to get a little bit fresh and incorporate some different wrinkles. And if they don't, Chris Knobloch said it post game. I found that interesting. I know Shaggy played it on the mandate earlier, but he's like, he's hinted at some changes. I don't think it's personnel-wise. I
don't
think
think
maybe we
it'd be
see
that
power
good.
play too. And he also said he's not going to do it right away. But it was interesting because he offered that up in his post game when he was talking about the power play, and to hear him say that, like they know they need to get their act together. And then the PK is just a mess right now. They can't stop anything.
Mex is in. Mex, I love it. I get the reference. Guys, it's like surrounding LeBron with non-shooters. That's the thing. Like, LeBron draws all the traffic. If he's kicking it out to guys who can't shoot, the entire offense is inept. So right now, what they're doing with McDavid is they're trying to take away those options and I guess forcing him to be a little bit more of a shooter, which we've seen in the past when he wants to.
Yeah.
He can score goals.
You said it last week. He had 100 more shots 2 seasons ago, and he had 64 goals. Do it.
We'll see if he starts to activate the shooting prowess a little bit here moving forward. I've got a list here on the Oil Stream today. It just says the issues. So we've talked power play.
Yeah.
The penalty kill saw a lot of turnover. I would be much more concerned if I was an Oilers fan, and most of you probably are much more concerned about the penalty kill than the power play. I mean,
it's awful.
It's going to get better than 55. But they also lost a bunch of guys who killed penalties on a very successful penalty kill down the stretch and into the playoffs. Dare I say, the only reason they made Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final was because their penalty kill was lights out in the playoffs.
Sure. And listen, I understand the turnover thing and the new players getting amalgamated and finding their rhythm with this team. That's a theme that has popped up quite a bit. We saw it on the post-game show. A lot of the comments were like, I'm worried about the turnover and all these new guys. Yeah, I get that, but we're 6 games in. They had 8 preseason games. You should be starting to find your rhythm. A lot of teams go through high turnover, and the PK is just execution. I mean, the Oilers on the faceoff dot this year have been pretty darn good overall. They generally win the faceoff battle. They did again in Dallas, but they lose a draw with less than 30 seconds left to play in the second period, and it results in Matt Duchene literally just taking the puck 20 feet further into the slot and firing a shot past Stu Skinner. Like, that's just bad execution, and Henrique not getting out to take away the shooting lane from Duchene after the faceoff was lost, and not getting the save from Skinner. Like, no bueno, man. And the penalty kill last year too at the start, it was awful. It wasn't 55% bad, but it sucked too. They were leaking a goal against on the PK basically every single night for the first 5-6 weeks of the season. It got as low as 28th in the National Hockey League at one point last year, and then it finally they made some adjustments. The personnel, regardless of who was out there, were starting to figure it out, and it wound up 15th overall in the league by the end of it, and then went on a great run in the playoffs. So regardless of the personnel, like, they have guys out there capable of handling the PK and being better on the PK, but there's been so many breakdowns in front of Stu Skinner and Calvin Pickard when the team is on the PK. It's just they're getting torched.
I'm just taking a look here. I was trying to see, we go individual maybe.
What?
On Natural Stat Trick, just trying to look at some power play stuff.
Okay.
Shots for on the power play. Where do I see that? Where do you see power play? Here we are, power play shots. Okay, so power play shots so far this season. Draisaitl has 6. Nuge has 3. Hyman has 3. Bouchard has 3. And Connor McDavid's only got 2 shots on the power play so far.
That's in 6 games. That could be,
That's in
those
6
guys
games.
could have
How
that
many power
power
plays?
play
15?
shots. Yeah.
Yeah,
They could have that in one power play.
He's got 2 shots.
Or one night.
In 15. Yeah, so let's just add this up here. 1, 2, that's 9, 11, 17 shots on 15 power plays so far.
That's awful.
You're just not shooting the puck enough.
Right.
Rebounds created. What a time to be alive.
Oh, they have that.
Rebounds created.
I'm guessing they're one of the lowest in the league right now.
On the power play, they have had 7 rebounds created.
That's it.
That's it, I guess.
In 15 power plays in 6 games. That's
7
awful.
rebounds created.
Again, that could be one night.
Yeah. Well, we did see their power play at times last year put up 15, 16, 17 shots in a game.
Correct.
Right? We did. I'm pretty sure we did. Maybe not all the time, but I think there were games last year where they put up double-digit shots.
Yes,
Let's just say
on
that.
the power
Double-digit
play,
shots on the power play.
It's completely doable.
17 shots in 15 power plays. Simply not they're not creating enough.
No.
I mean, and that's just shoot the puck. So when people are at the game against Carolina on Tuesday and fans are yelling shoot on the power play, I'm not even going to criticize them. I'll be like, it's a good point. It's a good message.
They were yelling shoot on Tuesday against Philadelphia, and I don't blame them. Pass. Take a look. Nope, not there. Quick pass. Pass back to Connor. Take a look. Nope, don't have it. Pass it down low.
Yeah.
Make a pass, gets blocked. Down the ice you go.
All right. Overall, they've scored 12 goals and have allowed 24. I mean, it's kind of impressive with those numbers. Like, if you look at this, power play 6.7, penalty kill 55%. They're being outscored 2-1. They're allowing 4 goals against per game and scoring just 2. It's actually pretty impressive that they're 2-4. Like, it's pretty impressive that they won 2 games when these are your numbers. So you sort those numbers out, you're going to start winning hockey games. Here's some other issues right now. Zach Hyman, no points.
No.
Arvidsson, no points. Bouchard with 1 point. No assist yet this season. Had that 1 goal. Nuge has 2 points. McDavid is on an 82-point pace. And Draisaitl's even lower than that. So, I mean, the big boys just simply aren't producing yet this season.
No.
It's not even... I mean, there's really no other way to look at it.
We said it on Friday. It's the third and fourth lines that are having good, strong efforts and kind of catapulting this team to better play in the last week where they got those wins. But you need the big dogs to lead the charge. They're thoroughbreds, man. Lead the pack. And I'm sure they know this. And maybe tomorrow night against Carolina, we see them wake up a little bit, but they just need to be better.
If you are listening on TuneIn or iHeart or at EdmontonSportsTalk.com, feel free to text us 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. That is where you can get in there. And, of course, if you're watching on YouTube, smash the thumbs up for us. Sub to the channel, even if you're watching archived a little bit later on, or hit us up over there in the chat as well. Robin Mungle Fitness in the chat says, guys, Nuge is looking sluggish and is telegraphing what he's going to do, especially on the power play. Too easy to defend against that. Same could be said for the entire power play, I guess. Old Gil is in and says, guys, one thing that stood out in the playoffs was the shot tips that kept beating the Oilers' penalty kills. Seemed so damn effective and deadly. And Rod Z says, good news is the power play and penalty kill can't get any worse. And
don't test them.
Rod also adds, Zach Hyman, the worst start of any season with 0 points. You got to go back 7 straight games without a goal and an assist at the end of 2016-17 with the Toronto Maple Leafs. So,
and he's around it, though. Like, he had some good chances against Dallas, and just it's not there.
I'll straight up call it right now. Zach Hyman scores a goal against the Carolina Hurricanes.
Ooh.
There you go. I said it. Zach Hyman scores tomorrow. That'll be my... That'll be part of the EST parlay tomorrow.
I was going to ask you if you were going to get it sprinkled in there.
No, I'll definitely, a little bit of the sprinkling there.
But it's not like Hyman isn't involved or around it. He is. He's had chances, and I think that's encouraging. And
it is crazy that he doesn't have a point through 6 games.
But I mean,
exclusive. Like whenever he's on the ice, 5-5 for power play, he's with Connor McDavid.
Yeah,
and 0 points.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Well, I think it's indicative of where all of those top 6 guys are at.
All right, so the top 6, little bit different. Actually, I guess everything a little bit different.
Yes.
This was the lines at practice this morning. Was Reed Wilkins down there?
He was down there.
Is he in here now?
He'll be here soon.
I was going to say, I haven't seen Reed yet. It makes me sad.
They should be done down there.
Yeah.
The practice is about 35 minutes, 40
Reed
minutes.
always cheers me up. He's I'm pretty cheerful anyway.
You're quite a cheerful
I like
person.
seeing Reed. I just like seeing Reed Wilkins walk into our office. It's just like,
How about the rest of the
Reed's
guys?
walking into our office too. Well, I mean, yeah, but like...
Oh, I know what you're saying.
You know what I mean.
Yes,
you know what
I'm
I mean.
teasing you.
Anyway, McDavid between Hyman and Nuge. Draisaitl between Arvidsson and Skinner.
Yeah.
So what did they last? 36 minutes in the first game of the season?
That is correct.
Okay. So we get our second look at Draisaitl, Arvidsson, and Skinner.
Should be this way.
Which might be better with Skinner going now.
Yeah.
Henrique between Derek Ryan and Connor Brown playing on his off wing. And then Matthias Janmark between Corey Perry and Podkolzin. Early thoughts on those lines, Tommy.
Interesting. And apparently there was like some rotations on the bottom 6 too. So that's like We're trying to figure out what the situation is there. The top 6, having Skinner up there, I like that. Henrik, Janmark, or pardon me, Janmark on the 4th line. He was rotating on the 4th line. Henrik, Brown off wing, and
Derek Ryan.
That's interesting. How long will these last? I don't know. But in the top 6, I like that. Bottom 6, whatever. It's a mishmash. Like, I thought Puck Colson actually had a decent game the other day, too.
You don't need much from Bud Colson to consider him having a decent game,
hits,
right? Like,
muck it up around the net. Don't be a liability in your own zone.
Literally just do a few positive things that have people talking.
Yeah.
And no negative things. And that would be considered a pretty solid game. All right. So I was going to ask you, like, what do we need to see differently from Skinner and Arvidsson and Draisaitl this time? But when we only saw them play for 36 minutes, how much were they actually together? 8 minutes?
Yeah.
I mean, we can't judge anything off that first game in which they were split up.
Yeah, they broke away from that pretty quickly. It's a good line. In theory, it's a good line. You've got Draisaitl, slow start for him, but he's the big bruising player on the line. Then Skinner's been going good, creating, buzzing around the net. Arvidsson, for the most part, I think has been a positive for this team. Hasn't, finished anything yet offensively, but it should be a good line. They're all veterans. They know how to play the right way. I expect them to tilt the ice, create opportunities, and eventually score. I think that's within reason for that group. And same with the top line. Like, those are what the lines are supposed to be. Let them go play. Let them find a little bit of a groove, and in theory, they should be all right. So I don't mind that. The bottom 6, we'll see how long it lasts. Having Brown on his off wing, Janmark taking spins at center, Ryan on the wing, like, just mixing it up.
Do you think when we get to puck drop tomorrow night, do you think that bottom 6 is the way it is at practice
by
today?
the second period, I think it'll be.
I don't even know if it'll be like that to start the game. Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense to go Connor Brown on his off wing to elevate Derek Ryan to the 3rd line?
Yeah.
That makes... why would you not just go back to Connor Brown in his regular spot, Henrik in the middle, and Matthias Janmark on the left wing? I think this is just a different look in practice.
Yeah. They're just trying things.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see how that works.
Yeah.
We were talking this morning. I was kind of intrigued if they decided to leave McDavid and Draisaitl together. I wouldn't have minded seeing. I
like that they got away from that.
That they got away from McDavid and Draisaitl. Yeah. No,
enough already.
I always prefer them apart.
Yeah.
I just think that's where the team will eventually have to be at. But anyway, I was thinking this morning, we were talking about it. If they stayed together, if they decide to keep them together for another game or these 2 games at home here, 2 very winnable games this week against Carolina. Hasn't had like a lights out start. Pittsburgh is a game under.
Yeah.
3-4. Yes, Puljujärvi has 5 points in 6 games.
Just had to.
I have to take these chances, Tommy. I have to take these chances. I thought it'd be interesting if you left McDavid and Draisaitl together, put Arvidsson up with them, move Hyman down, move Skinner up, and go Skinner and Hyman with Nuge in the middle, just to see. We haven't seen that yet. We haven't really talked about that because McDavid's just Hyman and McDavid are locked in together, which I totally understand. Last year it was ridiculous. But I was, I'd like to see that if they decide to keep those 2 guys together, which they did not.
I understand that. I was going to even throw this at you. Move Henrik up to the top 6.
Oh.
And Nugent Hopkins down to the 3rd line.
Nuge to the 3rd line.
I don't care.
You could go Henrik between Hyman and Skinner.
Yeah.
And then play Nuge with Janmark and Brown.
I think that's a good line and a good option, too.
Something you could do there.
I think Adam Henrik, for the most part, has had a good start to the season.
Has this team got through a game this year, 6 games in, where McDavid and Draisaitl started on different lines and finished on different lines?
No. Answer is no.
No. The games they were split up, they put them together.
Yeah.
And then they just put them together.
Yeah.
So 6 games in, 2-4, and those guys have played together.
A lot of it.
For a good chunk of every game.
What did we say? 36 minutes or 26 minutes?
It was at the home opener.
Yeah.
When they first had that shift together, I looked at the clock. There was 4 minutes left in the second period.
So 36 minutes.
Yeah. So
I saw you, and you tweeted about it too.
yeah,
and
it was just like
there it is.
36 minutes
I
into the
know.
season, you're going back to Draisaitl and
Old
McDavid.
reliable.
So, but it is. I mean, it's kind of crazy. They haven't. So they had them apart for what, two games, 2 games.
2 games, yeah.
Then put them together. They put them together for game 3, or they put them together for game 4. Anyway, they ended up coming back together in pretty much every single game this season. X-Ray J says, guys, I want the nuclear center options here. Skinner with McDavid and Connor Brown.
Oh.
Henrique with Draisaitl and Hyman.
Okay.
Podkolzin with Nuge and Arvidsson. And then Janmark with Derek Ryan and Corey Perry. That's X-Ray J.
Interesting X-Ray J. Was it Nugent Hopkins with Connor Brown and what was it there? I'm looking for it from X-Ray J.
Lots of text messages. We'll get to them.
Podkolzin, Arvidsson with Nugent Hopkins. Like, you got 2 guys who dig.
2 pretty hard workers on the wing.
Yeah, and then Nugent Hopkins can be the guy that distributes. That intrigues me a little bit, especially if those other 2 are doing like the heavy lifting, going to the hard spots of the ice. I'd like to see that at some point. X-Ray J, interesting.
Corey Brown is in on the chat today. Says, guys, why not sprinkle Connor Brown back into the top 6 like last year's start?
We might see that.
Yeah, you know what? We'll see Connor Brown in the top 6.
He's been good
at some point. I mean, they've played. Well, let's do the math on this, Tommy. You do the pregame show. They've played 6 games.
Yep.
Have they run the same lines back to back yet? Games 1 to 2, even though they switched up partway through game 1, did they go back to the game 1 lines in game 2? I think they did.
I think they did, and then they got away from it after that.
Or was Skinner already demoted down to the 3rd line for game 2?
I think off the top of my head, I think they waited a couple games before they got that shuffle going, if I recall.
All right, 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. Anyway, Corey, I guess what we're saying is we think you'll probably see Connor Brown in the top 6 at some point. This text in says, guys, the Henrique line was the 2nd line when Draisaitl was McDavid. I don't think you can really disagree on that one.
I'm not disagreeing with that.
Guys, the nuclear center option would be McDavid, Draisaitl, Nuge, and Henrique down the middle. I would not do that, though. No, I don't think you can waste Henrique on just 4th line minutes.
No, he's been good. I think he's been good so far. He's only got the goal, but
what would be the 4 most balanced lines you could possibly create?
So all you want is balance?
I just want like 4 lines where you're like, ooh, is that the number 1 line? Or is this the number 1 line?
Well, any line with McDavid's number 1, obviously.
Okay, but what if we give him the 2 worst wingers? What if we said McDavid's with Derek Ryan
and Matthias
Janmark?
Yeah.
Okay. And then
Draisaitl
gets Podkolzin and Connor Brown. Perry.
Yeah, you can go Perry.
And
then Nugent Hopkins with Brown and
Skinner. And then Henrique gets Hyman. And who are we missing?
We are missing
somebody good. Oh, Arvidsson.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't work. They're both righties.
So?
Whatever. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, who cares?
Okay, yeah. All right, so there. See, would these 4 lines be if we're like, hey, Connor McDavid's going out with Derek Ryan and Matthias Janmark against Henrique, Arvidsson, and Hyman. What do you think's the better line?
I don't know. It
might be Henrique, Arvidsson, Hyman.
Yeah, you got a 50-goal scorer, a guy who's put 30 up a couple times, and Arvidsson and Henrique, who's
it's not
still good.
It's not that great of an experiment, but it was fun to see. It was fun to see, like if you
balance,
absolutely, truly. Yeah. Blew the lines up.
Let's totally handicap McDavid's ability to create offense 5-on-5.
I mean, he should be able to do it with anybody.
You would think, in theory.
But there's a little bit of difference between Zach Hyman and Derek. Nothing is Derek Ryan, former Golden Pair.
Right.
But yeah, you can't.
Those lines are woof.
Yeah.
Good job. What an exercise.
There we go. Now we know.
We did it.
It's not always equal. Scalding Gord says, guys, one guarantee. Carolina will either score 4 goals and win or give up 4 goals and lose. Bank it. Hampton Steve is asking this question. Guys, is it time to call up Philp to help out the PK
No.
and the bottom 6?
No, he won't.
it sure would be nice to have other options. We talked about this last year.
They don't even have an extra forward on the roster. It's like,
how nice would it be if you actually had, a 13th forward that you could put in and you go, Derek Ryan, you haven't been giving us much lately. We're gonna put Philp in. Like, they don't even have an option to switch a body in and out up front.
And I know I said no quickly. I didn't mean that with disrespect, but just like Philp's going to need time to get his game up and running. I know he had a great training camp, but it's different. And you talk to guys that have been around the league, played in the league, and they're like, let him go and simmer in the minors. He's not going to come in and save the day on the PK. But one thing that Bugsy did bring up, Brad Malone, on the post-game show when he was filling in for Cass, was off that draw that Henrique lost that led to the first goal against, that's where you want a guy on his strong side, a big, strong right shot centerman. That's where at some point we'll probably see it. That's where Philp would be ideal. And I think the Oilers want that big, strong right shot centerman. And that's where, it might give you the advantage. If you had one in there, maybe he doesn't lose that draw. And maybe we're not talking about the Oilers losing 4-1 to the Stars. But I don't think it's Noah Philp time 6 games into the season just yet. And I didn't mean to disparage or talk down the suggestion, but Philp in time eventually. Just, I don't think we're hitting the panic button going, bring in Noah Philp to save the day 6 games into the season.
That's not what you want to do.
And that's what I meant by that.
All right, 780-218-9999. It is the Oil Stream. It is presented to you by Boston Pizza. We will be live at Kingsway Boston Pizza on Wednesday. I'll be there for a lock shop at 11. Tommy will join at noon for Boston Pizza, or for the Oil Stream at Boston Pizza, live on Wednesday. If you're watching on YouTube today, smash that thumbs up for us. Push our show out to others who like to talk about the Edmonton Oilers. AB Poker Inc. with an interesting question.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, the bottom 6 is actually producing. Why are we changing this? You did like the Skinner-Henrique line, did you not?
I did.
Yeah. That's, yeah.
But that it's a valid point, but they shouldn't be leading the way offensively for you.
Yeah, but you could leave them the same and still split up McDavid and Draisaitl.
Absolutely.
It's just a matter of not taking Skinner and moving him back up into the top 6, right?
Yeah. I didn't think we'd be seeing this early in the season.
What, the moving those lines?
Well, it's like, why are McDavid and Draisaitl struggling 5-on-5? Or even, the 5-on-5 is where they're actually getting their points. It's the power play. Like, generating nothing. It was almost good for a goal a game. Not happening. And then the PK just being a disaster again is so Oilers.
It really is.
It really is. I think I said it on the angle. Why can't they have nice things? Why can't
I heard that. I was out driving when I heard you say that.
Why can't the fans enjoy a pleasant season, start to finish, and then ramp it up for the playoffs? Other teams do it. I think of Vegas 2 seasons ago. They just had a very pleasant season.
Just a nice season.
Have a nice season.
You're 4-2 right now. It's not a crazy record, but nobody's complaining.
No, you're not.
4-2 start. Like, it's just. Rip City Step says, "Wouldn't it be nice? What are you, the Beach Boys?" That's that's a good line, Rip City Step. I like that. The Gordfather says, "Guys, how good will this lineup be when it's Kane, Henrique, and Brown on line 3, and then you're running Skinner somewhere in the top 6, and you've got a third line with Evander Kane, Adam Henrique, and Connor Brown."
They miss Evander Kane. When Evander Kane's dialed in, I always say it, when he's dialed in and he's healthy, he's a game changer.
They don't currently miss last year's playoffs Evander Kane. They miss healthy, motivated Evander Kane.
Correct.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you won't be seeing that for a long time. But yes,
you got to get by without it.
They have to. That's the hand that they've been dealt. But yeah, they do miss Evander Kane, and we joke about it, but they only have 12 forwards on the damn.
Well, they got to stay healthy.
Yeah, they do.
They have to. Nothing against Philp will get a crack at some point.
Yes,
but it falls off. I mean, maybe we see depending on the injuries and who gets injured, and guys will miss games due to injury.
Yeah,
you might see Savoy mixed in here a little bit.
I would think so.
But if they're,
it's funny. Somebody texted in. Trade for Lavoie.
A classic twist.
Well played.
A classic twist.
That is so good.
All right, 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999, and we will get to those. Smitty the Welder says, when it comes to Philp, it's not about saving the day. It's about doing something different as opposed to just doing the same. Right? So it's just a different body.
I understand. Right? And I think that'll happen eventually. I like the idea. What a great story he was. And just, I think in time, we'll see it. It's just, is it the solution right now?
What would be reason? What do you think is a reasonable timeline to see? Like, does Philp not get up here until there's an injury? And then once he's up here, you're like, oh, look, he should stay.
That could be it. Or things are not progressing and the season continues to go sideways and they just want to mix it up. But 6 games in, 2 weeks into the season, I think that's too soon. Especially, I think you want to give this group of 12 forwards a chance to figure it out. It's so ridiculous.
It is kind of crazy, isn't it?
It is. Their cap management.
Yeah.
It was funny because we were saying, oh, they finally got so-and-so off the books. Lucic deal gone. Andre Sekera's deal, his buyout finally ended not a year or two ago. And now we're talking about Jack Campbell still on the books. And I think James Neal, they have dead cap space still on James Neal. And then you look at the cap, they lost 2 players in Broberg and Holloway. Broberg's trending in Canada right now, by the way.
Of course he is.
Of course. It's just everything that could go wrong is. They're in cap hell. They only have 12 forwards. They had to sign a guy from a PTO to go and be the extra defenseman. The guy they signed after they lost Desharnais plays for them in the minors for $1 million a year. Wow. Classic Oilers.
And Broberg, 6 points in 6 games.
Oh, I know.
Slightly outproducing Jesse Puljujarvi right now.
It's just like, how about him setting up Holloway for a goal on Friday?
Yep.
And they celebrated like they were good friends that played together for a couple years.
As Oilers fans, if you're watching, you might want to throw the earmuffs on. Philip Broberg is tied for the St. Louis Blues team lead in scoring.
Oh, boy.
And he also, I believe, is also a team leading +6.
That's pretty good.
So, and he's playing 1942 a night.
Yeah.
Which would be 4th among their blue liners. Leddy, Parayko, and Falk about 2 to 3 minutes more.
Good for him.
So it's working out pretty well for him.
Yes, it is. And
Holloway's got a goal and assist.
Hernan makes a good point too. Like we were joking about that off the air, talking about it, and he goes, but the Blues have had their defensive struggles, and a lot of their fans are complaining about their blue line. But so far for Philip Broberg, very good start. Good for him.
Let me throw this one at you.
Okay.
Name the other former Oiler prospect that leads his team in plus-minus by 5.
Michael Kesselring.
From
4
the points in 6 games, +7, playing 19.5 minutes a night there too.
Yeah. That one, who knew? The one that got away is Michael Kesselring.
I mean, he kind of is the one that got away.
A little bit, yeah.
That was a tough one as well.
The Oilers, hey, who knew a couple years ago?
At least they're not the oldest team in the league.
Why can't they have nice things?
They'll get the power play and penalty kill going.
I know.
Like, there's McDavid's not gonna what's it regression to the mean or whatever.
Yeah,
McDavid's not going to score 82 points this year. Okay, no. Draisaitl's not going to finish with 74 points like he's pacing for right now. Like it's not going to happen. They're going to get going. When they do, they'll be cruising along.
That is correct. But we have until tomorrow to lament this.
It's kind of fun to look at these other guys who are younger and would have been part of that next group. The Wyatt Johnson Stankoven era of the Dallas Stars. Right. The Oilers just pissed that group away.
Now,
and then
that is fair, but on a much lighter note, Roby Yarventi was skating with the Oilers today.
Wow, why didn't we lead with this? All right. Let's get into your spicy headlines for Popeyes. Roby Yarventi, my new Finnish crush.
Your eyes lit up.
Look, man, I hope he has success. I mean, there's not a spot for him here because they only carry 12, but he'll get playing in the American League at some point. So.
Remember Ross Levitan when we had him on here from Locked On Sens? Just waxed poetic about old Roby Arventi. It's a good sign that Roby practiced today with the group.
He did say he has a significant knee injury.
Yes. And he was rehabbing it. He blew his knee out.
Yeah.
He's been up here the whole time skating. But just on a lighter note, because we were talking about that next wave that's now on different teams leading the charge, like a Michael Kesselring with Utah Hockey
we
Club.
gotta stop mentioning that guy's name. People are gonna. I mean, there might be grown ass men crying while listening to this right now, and not for laughs, but for sadness,
sorrow,
sadness, and sorrow.
I will say the last two summers, every time I would go down to Scottsdale at the Ice Den, Michael Kesselring was putting in the work, and now it's paying off for the Utah HC.
Eden is in and goes, big right shot defenseman. Ah! 6'4".
Yeah. Well, you got Phil Kemp down
Moves
there,
pretty
though.
well on the right side too.
Yeah.
Was traded with a third rounder for Cam Dineen, as you mentioned, and then Bukestad, who we loved Bukestad.
Bukestad was very good.
It would have been nice to keep Bukestad,
Yeah.
but they were unable to do that one.
If they hadn't lost Bukestad, I don't think there'd be an Adam Henrique here. So it's kind of like
yeah.
And I honestly don't know if they even had plans for Michael Kesselring to get the bump up. You know what I mean? I think that kind of surprised some people that the Coyotes at the time identified Kesselring as a future NHL defenseman.
Well, they nailed it. I mean,
yeah, they did.
Now, with that being said, when they moved him, did he not have like 3 years of American League? Yeah, he'd had 3 years of American League experience, so
Yes.
you probably could have been able to get a pretty good read on what he was going to be. I'd say a astute pickup for the Coyotes at the time.
That's Bill Armstrong. Well done.
Roland texts in and says, guys, the Oilers can't have nice things because they keep buying secondhand at the deadline on credit.
Oh.
Well, that's you fall kind of behind the. Like, eventually, you're going to just run out of that credit. You're
Yes.
like, damn, we got no picks left to deal, and we got no prospects left to deal, and we need guys, and we don't have cap space for them.
That sounds like an oddly familiar situation.
All right. Well, 780-218-9999. 780-218-9999.
Oh, this is good. I do have a note on the Oilers Hall of Fame night.
Okay, let's
save
do
it for-
that.
you
And then
wanna do it right now?
we can do that now, and then we'll get to, I want to take a look at the division
'Kay.
so far. Like, with the Oilers having a slow start, what are other teams doing in the division right now? So we'll dive into that. But
That's good. That's a good one. Just a note for not this game coming up, but the next one, the Friday one against the Pittsburgh Penguins, the Craig McTavish, Randy Gregg Hall of Fame night, being inducted into the Oilers Hall of Fame, which is always great. I love this Oilers Hall of Fame thing that they've created because not everybody can have their number retired.
yeah, it's good a thing.
And it brings back a lot of the alumni. Joaquin was talking about, like, it's going to be a fun night for the alumni on Friday. The ceremony is post-game.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Have we seen the post-game ceremony before? Like,
I
what
don't
happens?
think
What
so.
happens
Like,
if they
not-
lose?
Nobody's going to be there.
Well, some people will stick around,
I think some people
but
stick around.
it'll be a weird vibe.
Yes.
Why don't they do it? Before the game?
Well, let me tell you. The Doug Waite one ran long. And
So start
the league-
earlier.
The league wasn't happy. They did that with Kevin Lowe and not enough people, and there was a lot of empty seats for the Kevin Lowe one. So it's kind of like they're trying to find the happy medium. So they would need a win against Pittsburgh. They'd need people to stick around.
If the Doug Waite one went long, why don't you just go shorter with this one? Like, why don't you just say we've got 10 minutes allotted for this? It's 10 minutes.
That seems reasonable
Yeah.
and logical.
Yeah. So they're going to do a ceremony after the game?
Yeah.
Has this been done anywhere before?
I don't know. Well, I mean,
I'm trying to
not
think.
since they closed down Rexall Place.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's
that
different
was-
when you're
yeah.
closing down a barn. Like,
literally 40-something years in one building, yeah.
I'm trying to. There have to have been situations in the NHL or other sports where there was a post-game ceremony for guys going into the Hall? I mean, if they win Friday night, it could be boisterous. It could be fun. But if
I
Sidney
hope that's
Crosby
the
and
situation.
Evgeny Malkin and Jesse Puljujarvi come in and ruin the party,
Look out.
that's not going to be a good night.
No.
Huh.
I'd feel bad for Randy Gregg
Me
and
too.
Mac T.
Yeah, like that's. I'll just say I think it's lame. I think that's a weird thing to do.
So go earlier. They tried that with the Kevin Lowe thing. Not enough butts in the seats. Then they say maybe keep it tighter, and they ran long last year with the Doug Waite one.
Can you do like a 20-minute ceremony? Is that like how long did Dougie Waits take?
I don't know, but they said it ran
I
long.
feel like
and the
you
league
go
wasn't happy
you go
with them.
20 minutes. Huh.
I
So
thought
they
that was
did the Kevin
interesting.
Lowe one like before player warm-up?
Yeah.
That's kind of what it was.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if people want to be there to see it, show up early.
Get the word out.
What's the game start at 7:30 on Friday night?
I think it's a 7 o'clock.
Is it 7 o'clock? I thought somebody told me 7:30.
Well, football's 7:30.
Oh yeah, that's right. The Elks game 7:30.
Yeah, we'll be
That's what
there.
it is. I get
7 o'clock.
getting my local sports teams confused there.
It's all good. I got your back.
Does anybody have an example of a team doing a ceremony
Post game.
after the game? I don't want to be like, oh yeah, we're totally missing this sport. They do it all the time, but I don't.
In
I
football,
don't
it's
think
at
that is.
halftime, right?
Well, yeah, that's different, right? You have a window in football to.
Baseball, it's quick during the pregame. Baseball does very efficiently.
Yeah, they move things along quickly.
I respect that. Basketball, when do they do it? Pregame?
Well, they could do it at halftime too. I mean, there's enough time
At
at halftime.
halftime,
They do
yeah.
pregame, halftime.
Yeah.
Yet Yeeps31 says, guys, every single NHL game starts late anyways.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, fair point. I mean, it's a really fair point.
that is true.
This text in says, guys, knowing the Oilers, I'm surprised they didn't hold a ceremony on a separate day just to sell tickets. But you know what? I almost suggested that though.
Oh, that's
I mean, you'd have to go at a smaller sort of level and event. But
Well, they put it in the fan park, inside the tent where it seats 1,000. I'm just kidding. I'm being totally sarcastic. Anyway, so that's worth noting. Get the word out in advance. The ceremony's supposed to be post game.
all right, so there you go. Stick around. The one thing you want to do,
After a loss.
it's a ceremony
Yeah.
after a loss
Yeah.
at 10:15 on a Friday night.
That's right. Unless they win, beers are flowing, people are in a good mood. Then you stick around and celebrate Mac T and Randy Gregg.
All right, 780-218-99. Oh, boy. Big
What?
uke.
Drop a bomb?
Big uke, you greasy bugger. The Panthers did a ceremony after Game 7.
Oh. Too soon.
Big uke. That is, buddy, that's pretty vicious. That's pretty vicious.
Wow.
The Wolf says, guys, sure, it would make sense to do on like a Saturday afternoon or a Saturday night game, but that would be too logical. Well, Friday night, Saturday, what's the difference?
Yeah.
But yeah, on a Saturday afternoon game, a 2:00 start, game's over at 5, stick around. It's going to suck no matter what if you lose, though.
Yeah.
Like, the players, like, do the current players have any sort of involvement in this? They can sit there and watch?
I feel like they're just
Probably
leave.
not. I think they
No,
just
'cause
go
they gotta do
shower
post-game stuff.
shower and leave.
Yeah.
That kind of makes me sad for Mac T. Like, two good dudes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, you know what? For those guys, stick around. Stick around for this ceremony after. Win or lose, stick around and support your team.
And Rob from LA makes a good point. Beers won't be flowing after the sales are cut off. It would be a lame vibe.
Oh, that sucks too.
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to ask you to stay here for an extra 30 minutes. Like, how long do they go, even after the game?
I think it has to be like a 20 minutes.
Well, then how can you not fit in 20 minutes before the game?
I know.
My God. This is really, it really threw me off here on this one.
It's a weird one. That's why I thought I'd bring it up.
All right, let's get to the NHL standings here in the division. I just want your thoughts quickly on the division.
Yep.
So the Edmonton Oilers are in 7th right now, 2 points up on the San Jose Sharks, who haven't won a game but have lost a couple in overtime.
Yeah.
The Sharks and the Oilers have scored the same amount of goals,
Nice.
but the Sharks have given up 2 more. So, like, the Oilers' goal for and goals against numbers are closer to San Jose than anybody else in the division, which
They're
is
right there.
Little concerning. The Ducks are 2-2-1. They sit 6th. The Canucks 2-1-2, 6 points in 5 games. Only the one regulation loss. Vegas 3-2-1 for 7 points in 6 games. The Kraken have started the year 4-2. They have 8 points through 6 games. The Kings are 3-1-2, only one regulation loss. They've got 8 points in 6 games. And then the Calgary Flames 4-0-1, have not lost in regulation just yet. 20 goals for, just 12 against. The stingy Calgary Flames, 2-0 at home, 2-0-1 on the road.
They're a wagon.
So I mean, that has to be the most surprising thing in the division.
100%.
For sure.
I don't think that the Flames are going to go post to post atop the Pacific Division standings. I think reality will set in for them soon. Good on them for getting off to a great start. LA kind of picking it up. It's so early. Vegas, I think Seattle and Calgary are going to drop. I expect Vancouver and Edmonton to pick it up, obviously. Anaheim, I don't know what's worse, how they play or their uniforms. Too much orange.
Yeah, I usually like teams trying to do unique new stuff.
San Jose's look good. They're just a bad team.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to say, I feel bad for Leo Carlson in those Duck jerseys. He's too damn talented.
Yeah.
And he's a big dude. He stands out.
Yeah.
So,
it's tough. Again, early, but I think by the end of this week, I think we're going to see some traction from the good teams. I think Edmonton will have a good week. I think Vancouver will bounce back a little bit. And I think we're going to see Calgary lose its first regulation game. Or 2.
Rod Z points out that the Kings have not played at home yet.
Yeah, Crypto.com was getting renovated. They're doing a bunch of renovations to the Kings home rink. And
Must be for Bronny.
It's for Bronny, clearly.
Has to be.
And they started the year. That's why they went to Quebec City. They got paid to be out there. They started on a road trip. They played in Anaheim yesterday.
3-1-2 6-game road trip to start the year is pretty damn
not bad.
good.
Yeah, and I know they had a tough game against Toronto. And then they had that crazy game against Ottawa, but they're doing all right. They're doing just fine.
Do you think Seattle's sustainable?
I don't think so.
I think they made some moves in the offseason that'll make them better. But I don't know if I'm putting them in as a top 3 team in the division.
I love that goal by Eberle to win it.
Yeah, that was nice. Yeah, congrats
he was
to
great.
Eberle, yeah.
He just a good dude and a really
One of
good
the best
hockey player for a long time.
One of the best. Yeah.
I really appreciate him.
All right, that's going to do it for the oil stream today. Zacticum, you kicking around? You want to come get us out here?
Can we call this Michael Kesselring?
What's that? The
name of it? I'm just
the episode?
Yeah.
Oh, we can't do that. That's just
too much.
The one that got away. And then you get to decide if it's Kesselring, Puljujarvi, Lavoie, Broberg. Basically, their entire top 10 prospect list for the last 4 or 5 years gone. But whatever. They're going to, look, the power play is going to get going.
Yeah.
Penalty kill is going to be better. McDavid and Draisaitl will get rolling, and the Edmonton Oilers will finish 2nd or 3rd in the Pacific. I think that's probably a reasonable take right now.
2nd for 5 straight years now, right? So,
well, then that's where they'll be rated home.
Perfect.
Rated home. All right, we're coming at you with Popeyes and Boston Pizza on board as our sponsors. Huge shout out to Furby and the crew over at Popeyes, and of course our presenting sponsor at Boston Pizza. If you want to join us on Wednesday, we'll be at Boston Pizza, Kingsway, myself, Gazzola. YouTube Trev's going to be in the house as well. Kingsway, Boston Pizza, we will be there for Oil Stream on Wednesday. Very much looking forward to that. For Tommy Gazzola, I'm Dustin Nielson. EST Afternoons with Hernan Salas and Joaquin Gage coming up. They'll have your next chance to get in the mix for the EST Flyway to Los Angeles. Woo. Make sure you're listening for that keyword. I will talk to you tomorrow morning on The Nielsen Show. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. Take it easy.